Welcome. This is Astrology Insight Now, a weekly forecast program with astrology and other ways to help you make the most of your week and to heighten confidence for daily life. It's run by Pamela Cuccinell, that's me, the astrologer, and I invite you to find out more about my work at insightoasis.com. I look forward to your joining us every week. Please share with your friends, and here we go. This forecast is for June 29th, 2026, the week of Astrology Insight. So this is a pretty intense week, and I will guide you through it as best as possible. Keep in mind, I consider it a week where a lot of revelations and change in perspective is possible. It's not necessarily easy, but it is possible. And we need that globally as well as many of us personally, because so many things happening so quickly in the sky mirror a lot of the emotional turmoil questions of people below. And as we're seeing the world order getting shifted, which was always anticipated astrologically by some of these big, slow movements of the outer planets, not necessarily in the way that governments are deciding to make them transpire, but nonetheless, as that's occurring, of course, the individuals and we're all affected by what's going on. Financial structures are changing, assumptions that were always made with people with things as personal as banking, taxes, healthcare, systems that seemed very reliable or in place or institutionalized are changing. And the ideal, of course, is that they change for the better, but right now there's a huge game of, and I use the word game because it is very strategic on the parts of people who hold power and money, and decisions they want to make or how they want to decide things happen. And yet there's a lot of human beings that live in the world, and how to galvanize or shift the seemingly impossible steerage that's going on. A week like this week definitely shows the bumps along the road and how we can gain more insight, perspective, and agency. So let's talk about that. So Monday, the 29th, begins with there's a full moon that is exact at 7:57 p.m. It's the full moon in Capricorn at 8 degrees, 15 minutes. Now, the moon in Capricorn is being lit by the sun in Cancer. And the moon in Capricorn wants to feel a sense of purpose, that things are working in a certain structure that is familiar, and often has a sense of being solitary in the quest of achievement. It can be a bit heavy and depressing because it feels so separate from the nucleus, the home, the center. Often someone born with a moon in Capricorn is a person who had to take on a lot of responsibility from an early age. And so there can be a sense of solitary energy that goes through it. However, the full moon is being lit by the sun in Cancer, which basically is informing it with a sense of family, roots, possibly country, the things that give us comfort, a sense of how we nest, what makes us feel secure. So there's an emotional component that is allowing a sense of what is it that really creates home while we're striving forth and wanting to achieve. So through this day, especially in the early part of the day, there's a push to move towards that full moon with perhaps things that we've been working on accomplishing, making happen, how we want to reach that goal, um, whether consciously or not, before the full moon coalesces. Now, it doesn't mean that we have to finish whatever project we've got in motion by that point in time, but there is a reassessment. It's an integration. It's a sense of, is what I'm striving for providing me with that emotional anchor? Do I, I'm out in the world making things happen. Do I feel like I have the anchor of family roots, something that gives me a sense of inner emotional security and belonging? And if that isn't something we have available to us, the full moon can heighten that sense of what's the point, perhaps, especially with a position of Neptune in the sky at this point in time that is calling to us saying, where is that emotional anchor or that sense of spiritual fulfillment? Are we just like running for the achievement, or is there a intrinsic piece of it that is rooted to a sense of social, emotional, spiritual identity? Once the moon is full at 7:57 p.m., then we're in the waning cycle. And it doesn't mean that we can't do things this week, but there are things we have to keep in mind. For instance, Mercury has gone retrograde as of 1:36 p.m. Eastern time. So if you're not in the Eastern time zone when I give these times, just pay attention to what that means for where you are. So with Mercury retrograde in the sign of Cancer, I see this week really as, and the ones following it, as being time when we are given the opportunity to reassess what we've been told or what we think is our history, our roots, our beginnings, not just personal, familial, but also those of us who feel an allegiance to country, no matter how fraught it may be at this point in time, because a lot of countries are in turmoil or identity crisis or a schism of how people think or what they want it to be. And the other thing to note that occurs at this point in time, actually at 1:52 a.m. on Tuesday the 30th, is that Jupiter has finally moved into the sign of Leo. So fire and air signs, you're about to get juiced up with a sense of expansiveness, opportunity, wanting to do. And depending on what planet or where it's falling in your horoscope can show this sense of really giving you that push that you need, or it could also be for some of us a lot at once. But the thing to pay attention to is, where is Leo in your horoscope? So what is expanding? What opportunities? What sense of I want an energetic burst or new enthusiasm in this area of my life? So as the week continues, I mean, overall, Monday can be a productive day, but we especially want to pay attention to communication. are we saying things in ways that are correctly being heard? If we're making um, alliances, if we're making appointments, if we're working out contracts, um, we need to be very aware of how people are hearing things and what the response is. Because if we're not, then we may be pushing through something that is not received in the way that we would like. Remember, Mercury is in Cancer and it's retrograde. So someone, I mean, an image I get is of the boss in the room or the bossy person in the family or the person who always assumes leadership, just kind of saying, okay, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing, this is the way we do it. And then other people sitting there, another person sitting there thinking, well, I don't feel safe. I'm not really on board. This isn't what I want to be doing. And so it's important to have the conversation parroted back. If one says something, then find out, how is this hitting you? What is your feeling on this? Do you have a way you'd like it to pan out? Or is there something you want to contribute to this? Because we work best when we have that information, even if it's hard to hear, because Mercury retrograde, it's the re's, it's the reevaluate, remember, research, reorder. And unless we have the information from other sources, it's difficult sometimes to know what we need to backtrack and look at and understand. So the moon goes void, of course, at 7:51 a.m. on Wednesday the 1st. And it then enters Aquarius, but not until 3:33 p.m. So basically, a lot of the morning into mid-afternoon, we have a void of course moon, which means it's best to work on things already in motion. Don't start something new. Get the decks in order. Uh, get rid of trash. I mean, poise yourself for when you're able to move forward again. Once the moon moves into the sign of Aquarius, these couple of days can be energized, productive, but I can't emphasize enough the importance of dialogue, mitigation, going back and forth on how another camp feels or how things are being received. Because Aquarius energy can be very sure of what the best way to do something is, a sense of truth, a sense of purpose, a sense of intelligence. But if we're not able to engage the other in a spirit of connection and equality, then we're missing what really needs to be happening. And there's pride involved. Not, well, yes, I mean, it can be the person who's delivering the message or what it is you want to get across, but there's also pride involved with the recipient or the person that is on the team, um, things that need to be created and made happen. And so it's very, very useful to take that extra step. And this is a Mercury in retrograde lesson. Sometimes what happens is a person can be so focused on the task, like this has to get done, you do this, I'll do that, that they miss how the message was received. Maybe too curt, maybe assuming that the person has all the information they need to follow through, may not take the time to be sure that the other person or team or people involved are clear on where, when, how, and if things go awry, then feelings can get hurt, sensitivity increases, and polarity, disagreement increases. So we really, really are strengthened when we keep in mind we're in the waning moon cycle, Mercury is retrograde, Jupiter is in Leo, which can buoy you up, exuberance and playfulness, and even a degree of silliness, as well as glamour and kind of over the top stuff. But whatever is bigger also has to be looked at so that we're really able to make sure we stay on the task at hand. And yes, sometimes it's very important to remember that playfulness and a bit of fun is valuable in getting a more focused or laser direction task done. I mean, the exuberance of being able to ignite pride is really, really valuable for a team or a vision. I mean, again, as a New Yorker, I'm certainly one of the human beings who is totally inspired and jazzed about the Knicks winning a couple of weeks ago. I mean, and that's an example of people who got together, it's a team, but they move with a sense of pride and clarity of what they're doing, regardless of how they were losing or, all the buzz about team hasn't won for 53 years. I mean, the way that you transcend that is with a sense of playfulness, respect for the other people involved, and also sheer delight in what you're doing, whether it's a cause, a project, a job, uh, a meal you're cooking, gardening, whatever it is. But you want the team to each feel like the most valuable player. And that's the way to make these couple of days really sing. Even if it's just you working alone, don't forget you too need that sense of pride, respect, and acknowledgement for what you're doing. So the moon is void of course, as I said, basically all evening after it goes 1:27 p.m. on Friday the 3rd. And in the sign of Aquarius, it's really best to just work on what already you're doing, clear the desk, clean up your emails, but pay attention to whatever you're doing. Or just if you can, meditate, space out, enjoy, enjoy the moment of possibilities. And if you can, pay attention to the revelations, the stories, the information that may be coming through, because there'll be a lot of it this week and over the next weeks, especially things that are historic, familial, information we may have thought we knew or were told what it is, and then we rediscover or understand with a new lens what the reality is, where the truth lies. Now, one thing that's happening in the sky is there's a Mars-Uranus conjunction. It's exact at 2:08 a.m. on Saturday, the 4th of July. these two planets together are very volatile. So the moon is void of course, so it's kind of unpredictable as to what may occur. I mean, I think the best case scenario, as I look at it, is full of sound and fury, signifying nothing, because it's these planets are in the sign of Gemini. So yes, there'll probably be more than anyone wants, a lot of uh, buzz or statements on Twitter, Truth Social, you name it. But it's nothing is going to stick because the moon is void of course. So don't engage with anything that basically is, well, if you're up into the wee hours or if you hear something that triggers you, I mean, see it as all just clickbait or things that are designed to distract you, to uh, to ignite fury, and none of that is useful for where we want to go as a singular human being or as a people or as the human society. I mean, we want to ideally consciously evolve. We want to be better. I mean, I don't think anyone listens to me who doesn't want that because there are other people you can listen to who are going to give you other messages. For me, I truly believe, even now, I still believe and know in my heart of hearts that it is possible for human beings to evolve, transcend, and be more connective. But we can't do it if we're polarized and separated and always stirring up hate, frustration, and negativity. That's in each one of us. We have, we have all the good and bad traits of being human beings, but each of us chooses what we're acting on. This is what, we guide and teach children from an early age. No, you can't hit Joey just because you're frustrated. You don't know words yet, but we have to learn ways to communicate that are not angry or punitive. And so on July 4th, the moon enters Pisces at 2:30 a.m. Free and clear after that Mars Uranus conjunction. It's almost like it feels like that Mars Uranus conjunction comes together to burst and birth a new energy, a new perspective. Because that moon, as it travels through the sky in the sign of Pisces, the 12th sign, the one that reminds us how we're all united in the universal unconscious, that moon, as it moves to its final passage, makes a trine with Mercury in Cancer retrograde. Do we remember what we came here to do? Each one of us in this lifetime as independent human beings, but do we remember the seminal birth when humans first evolved? What was it? What was our intention? What were we striving for? Human beings in the biological universe who on Earth had the ability to create, to kill, to destroy, but also to create, to vision, to make works of art, structures, music that we would like to think are a legacy to transcend time, but eventually probably will all go to dust, especially if, as a human race, we accelerate that. So here we are, Moon in Pisces, on July 4th in the United States, 250 years, where we can remember, look back, reflect on what was it that started the United States, the real story, not just the things we're told, like so many, well, men in power who tell us what the truth is, either in religions or in government institutions. I mean, we all have the ability to read and understand what the seminal beginnings were, with their flaws as well as with their strength. And so this day can be a tremendous day for igniting new dialogue and ideas. And yes, as the moon travels through the sky, it's going to make a hard aspect to that Uranus at 9:59 a.m. Eastern time, and then with Mars at 10:26 a.m. But then it passes. And so when it does that in the late morning, we want to be paying attention. Are we getting distracted? Are we losing our attention span of what the heart really wants to make happen? Are we getting like falling into anger and frustration? Or are we using that to fuel us in directions that have to do with taking control and going in the direction that we know is possible? So use this time. I mean, it can be an absolutely beautiful day from the late morning into all of Sunday to really strengthen your intuition, reach out and know who you want to connect to, expand creativity. It can be the dream. So maximize your inner dream, your inner love. Not only is love the strongest power in the universe, but it can triumph, transcend, and mend. You have been listening to Astrology Insight Now. Please share with your friends, and if you'd like to make a donation, you can do so at astrologyinsightnow.com. Have a stellar week, and we hope to see you next time.